Okay. I noticed last time on the Act 3 notes, y'all got kind of lazy, weren't writing as much. Um, excuse me, I just got up. So make sure you're writing down the important stuff. All of it's important, really, but uh, anyway, just don't be lazy. All right. So, notes for Hamlet, Act 4. In this section, the scenes move more quickly, and the shorter scenes create a sense of suspense, of quickened action. In Act 4, Scene 1, Gertrude is talking with Claudius, and they worry for themselves, with this over-hasty marriage, and the king keeps using Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He keeps them on his payroll, um, even though Hamlet's kind of wary of them, kind of suspicious of them. Act 4, Scene 2, Hamlet is concealing the body of Polonius. He won't tell where it's hidden. Well, he eventually does. And he riddles with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. He knows they're spies. He's not going to tell them anything. He compares them to a sponge who soaks up the king's favor and who eventually will dry up and no longer be useful. He compares himself to a musical instrument and says that, although they may be trained in music, that they don't have the skill to play Hamlet himself if he's a musical instrument. Act 4, Scene 3, Hamlet, remember, is going to England. He's getting sent there by Claudius. And Claudius plans one more thing in England for Hamlet, and that's Hamlet's murder. He's going to send Hamlet with a letter. And Claudius, it's ironic because he wants to use murder to hide the first murder. And we talked about how Hamlet is wanting to use murder to avenge murder. And it's just, murder is just not the answer, guys. Okay. So Act 4, Scene 4. Hamlet's on his way to Denmark, Hamlet's on his way to England, and he passes Fortinbras on Fortinbras' way to Denmark. So they pass each other. They don't see each other, but Hamlet meets like one of Fortinbras' outriders or soldiers or watchmen. We see Hamlet in the third costume of the traveler. Remember, his first costume was all black for the mourning, the sadness over his father. The second costume was the messy appearance because of the messiness in his brain, of not knowing what to do, of his his seeming madness. And now in this third costume, this is symbolic of Hamlet's shift, his journey from inaction to action, finally. Hamlet is really inspired by Fortinbras' army and Fortinbras himself. He observes the action of Fortinbras' army, and that action inspires the fourth and final of Hamlet's great soliloquies, because, I'm going to talk about it in a second. It's called the Rightly to be Great soliloquy. And Fortinbras inspires Hamlet and makes Hamlet ask, what is a man? And Hamlet says that thinking is one part wisdom, because yeah, you should think about what you're going to do before you do it. But thinking's also 3 parts cowardice. Hamlet has hidden behind his thought, hidden behind his inaction, and has not carried out the revenge that Claudius deserves to be exacted on him. He's very critical. Hamlet's very critical of his own thinking too much, thinking too precisely on how to carry out this revenge. And he admires Fortinbras as the man of action. Fortinbras is the foil to Hamlet. Fortinbras acts. Fortinbras planned to attack Denmark to take back the land his father lost, to restore Fortinbras' honor. And Hamlet has done nothing to avenge his father's death. Both men have lost their fathers, and both men are completely different. Fortinbras is acting, Hamlet is in action. Hamlet is doing inaction, whatever. And this realization that he admires Fortinbras is the beginning of Hamlet's anagnoresis. An anagnoresis is a moment in a play or other literary work when a character makes a critical discovery. He realizes that something isn't right and that he needs to change. He says this line here, rightly to be great is not to stir without great argument, but greatly to find quarrel in a straw when honor is at the stake. So he says, being great, the right to be awesome, doesn't have anything to do with thinking and thinking, okay, now should I avenge my father? Thinking about it, think about it. What's the right argument for me to do this? Should I stir? Should I get up? But being great is finding a reason to fight, the tiniest reason, if your honor is on the line. Get off your butt and fight if your honor is threatened. And Hamlet's honor has been threatened. His father was murdered. His mother stolen by his uncle. The uncle sits on the throne because of this horrible thing. And Hamlet sees Fortinbras taking action because, remember, Hamlet's father killed Fortinbras and took that land. And now Fortinbras feels his honor has been threatened and is going to fight for it. This is also the beginning of Hamlet's peripeteia. Peripeteia, you can see, is a reversal of circumstances. It's a turning point. And it goes hand in hand with the anagnoresis, with the realization. Because when Hamlet realizes that he needs to be a man of action, he switches the action of the whole play. He starts to take control. He starts to do what he needs to do to avenge his father's death. And he says, "Oh, from this time forth, my thoughts be bloody, or be nothing worth." And we've heard this from Hamlet before, but this time it's for real. Act 4, Scene 5, we have Ophelia. We see her in this state of madness. In the video, she'll be in a straitjacket, but she's singing and acting weird. Excuse me. And in the video, she won't be wearing flowers on her, but in the theater production, generally, she has on flowers, with the garden as a symbol of innocence, of vulnerability. Think of Adam and Eve in the garden. They're so innocent, they're sinless, and they succumb to sin in that Garden of Eden. Laertes finds out that his father has been killed, and he wants to dethrone Claudius. He blames Claudius, but finds out that it's actually Hamlet who does it, who killed his father. Act 4, Scene 6, Hamlet writes a letter saying he's coming back from England, which is completely unexpected. It's ironic because we thought Hamlet was going to get killed in England, but he announces his return naked, meaning without weapons. He's coming in peace. He knows that his uncle tried to have him killed, and he's saying, "I'm coming back in peace," but really what he's coming back to do is kill Claudius. This is a continuation of the turning point in Hamlet's mindset. Claudius and Laertes want to kill Hamlet. Obviously, Claudius wants to kill him because Claudius knows that Hamlet knows about his father's, King Hamlet's murder. Laertes wants to kill him because Hamlet killed Polonius. So they come up with this idea of the poisoned rapier and the cup. They're going to challenge Hamlet to what seems like a fun, sword play, betting on it. But they're going to put poison on the tip of the sword, and if that doesn't work out, if Laertes cannot touch Hamlet with the sword, when Hamlet gets winded, when he gets sweaty and needs a drink, they're going to offer him a cup that also has been poisoned. And so either way, Hamlet will be killed. Now, at this point, Laertes is even more committed to killing Hamlet because he finds out that Ophelia has drowned due to this craziness caused by Polonius's murder and Hamlet's rejection. We have more garden imagery with her, the idea of innocence, where she's standing on a branch hanging flower chains, and the branch breaks and she falls in to the river below her. Her clothes get too heavy with the water and she drowns. It's a very pathetic death. Ophelia had no control over her own destiny, and so we consider her death pathetic because of that, because it's not like she was making decisions that led to her downfall, like in a tragedy or a tragic death. She was overmastered by fate and by man. And that's what that says there. Note the difference between pathetic and tragic through elements of free will and fate. Fix that there so you can see it. where'd it go? There we go. So note the difference between pathetic and tragic through elements of free will and fate, deaths. And we have this thematic idea of no matter if you're a woman or a man, no matter if you're a king or a prince, in the end, or a poor person, in the end we're all dead, which is a transition to the graveyard scene at the beginning of Act 5, which is our final act and your final set of notes. So, here we go.